Hello, welcome to another Purple Insider Extra. Matthew Coller here, along with Sam Ekstrom, as we continue to count down to week one and look at every position and break down what we saw in preseason training camp and where that position group starts week one. All right, Sam, let's go with the weapons, wide receivers, and tight ends. We know that Irv Smith Jr. is not going to be a part of this tight end group, but still very high expectations for Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Let's begin with Justin Jefferson, the centerpiece of this entire offense, aside from Dalvin Cook. And what are our expectations from Justin Jefferson based on what we saw from an injury-slowed training camp?
You know, I didn't see anything from Justin to suggest that he's going to drop off massively. I also didn't see anything from him that says he and Kirk have like an insane connection, because Kirk didn't really have a good connection with anybody. And even before his injury, I felt like Justin Jefferson was a little bit quiet, to be honest with you. He, I think, looks very explosive on shorter routes, slants. His route running is crisp. And just because he and Kirk didn't connect deep too often, like we saw so many times with Stephon Diggs, that doesn't mean that Jefferson's not going to be good. He's going to be really, really good. And we didn't see him in a game. So I'm just counting on him showing up and being Justin Jefferson. If it's the same guy we saw last year, that's amazing. There's going to be a ton of attention on him. So how does he respond to probably some extra physicality, probably some assignments that are entirely focused on stopping him? And how will he respond if he, has some down games because of that? I think those are going to be the hurdles that he faces, maybe dealing with, coming back from an injury. How will he play through something like that? I think those are all things facing Justin Jefferson, but I feel like it's 1,000-yard season minimum. And probably he can shoot again for that 1,400 number. I think that's realistic after seeing his talent last year.
I certainly wonder about the AC joint sprain and the possibility of that coming up again. Wide receivers fall on their shoulders a lot, but save for that, what I've been really impressed with Justin Jefferson is sometimes a guy gets a little taste of fame and then, it's okay, I've made it. I can do it. I'm just going to go out there and do my thing and beat everybody. I think Justin Jefferson came in with the attitude that he's got to continue to learn, because the league is paying attention now, that everyone knows what he brings to the table, and he is going to be the guy that they put a star next to when any team goes to game plan for the Minnesota Vikings. And the fact that he has worked closely with Patrick Peterson, he's studied closely the cornerbacks that he's going to be facing this year. Things like that show a sense of maturity for Justin Jefferson that if you talked with him for the first time or listened to an interview at the podium for the first time, you probably would think he was a lot older than he is. I mean, he has sort of a happy-go-lucky general attitude, but his approach to football is a guy that has a growth mindset, continuing to get better, continuing to take on the challenges. And there have been plenty of players who have a little bit of success and they don't do stuff like that to make sure they make the adjustments necessary. So from that perspective, I think he's got a great chance to carry on of what he did the first year. My only question, Sam, is, will they throw him the football more? Because there were times last year where I joked on the podcast that if Justin Jefferson doesn't get 10 targets, somebody should be arrested. I mean, because he has such an incredible ability to get open and make plays that looking away from him for full halves of football, I think as a rookie, he might go, all right, I'm a rookie, I understand it. But now that he's reached stardom so quickly, I don't think he should be or will be understanding if they look away from him for full halves of football.
I agree. I think that we saw flashes of Jefferson starting to demand the ball late last year. And I think that he's just so competitive and he wants so badly to be great that anything short of that is not going to be enough for him. Even if, I think he was able to kind of get satiated in his rookie year by statistics and accolades. And that was good enough for him because it proved to himself that he could do it, even though the wins weren't really following along with it. I think he's going to want to win. I think he's going to want the stats. He's going to want the targets. He's going to want the success as a team to go along with that, because that's good for any player personally. If they can be successful on a good team, that just makes them all the more valuable. So I think Justin recognizes that and is going to, become increasingly more demanding, and rightfully so when you have that kind of talent.
So I don't mean to just skip by Adam Thielen, but we've known Adam Thielen for a long time, and I didn't see anything in this preseason or training camp that would make me think Adam Thielen will be anything except for his very, very effective self. But behind him, we had a competition of sorts that never really got off the ground. Chad Beebe is now out for the year, so he's not a part of this. We're not sure when Dede Westbrook is going to come back, but the fact that he's not on IR means we should expect him in the first couple of weeks. You have KJ Osborne, who has emerged, but it was very hard for the receivers to show anything during the preseason with the poor quarterback play. And Amir Smith-Marset, in my mind, Sam, is the wild card here because he's dynamic with the football. He clearly has some explosiveness and downfield ability, but is also very raw as a fifth-round pick wide receiver. How do we think this group ends up playing out behind the two stars based on what we saw in preseason and camp?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth with Smith-Marset. I mean, I think he is sort of a wild card in this, in that he could emerge as the season goes along. The way that Mike Zimmer spoke about him tells me that he's initially viewed as a backup, because Zimmer was talking about how backup receivers need to be better on special teams, and he was basically talking about Amir Smith-Marset. So I don't think we see him right away. I think he's kind of in that role that Osborne was in last year, where they want him to learn for, the better part of a year. And, maybe if he's ready, he's ready. They'll give him a chance. But I think KJ Osborne is probably the week one guy, and Dede Westbrook will be breathing down his neck. I think once Westbrook gets back in practice, you're going to see more and more of him sort of interjecting himself into that slot position. But here's the one thing Osborne offers, Matthew. He can play on the outside. He can get deep. Dede Westbrook, I mean, we haven't seen him, I guess, in pads as much. We've seen him without pads, so he looks small. I mean, he's a slight framed guy. He's not going to, I don't think, stretch the field as much. He's more of a pure slot. Osborne is a little more versatile. So, if someone got hurt, I think Osborne could actually fill that role of a wide receiver 1 or 2 a little more effectively, whereas Westbrook is more of a natural inside receiver. I think they can both be used. I don't think the Vikings need to declare one or the other. I think that they can judge based on what they see in practice. They can use them in different ways. And Westbrook has some good speed. He might be the good third down guy that Chad Beebe once was.
And Dede Westbrook mostly played in the slot when he was in Jacksonville. So the expectation for me would be that that's why they signed him, is to have a slot receiver who's a little more effective than Chad Beebe. All right, we've discussed recently the tight end situation and Irv Smith not being a part of it, bringing in Chris Herndon with not a whole lot of expectations for him as a tight end too. So let's make some predictions. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, what do you think they do in terms of receptions, yards, touchdowns?
Mm-hmm. So for Justin, it was, I think, 88 targets, 69 receptions, 1,400 yards last year. The touchdown total's got to go up. I think that the yardage goes down. I think it's 1,250. I think that he gets focused on a lot more. I think the touchdowns go up, let's say 9. I think Thielen also breaks 1,000 yards. I think he gets 1,100 yards. He had 14 touchdowns last year. That's probably going to go down as well. I think he scores 10. He's still very good in the red zone, makes those one-handed catches. You wanted receptions too. This is a lot. You're demanding a lot here.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson had 88 catches last year.
Oh, it was 88 catches. Okay.
Yeah, for 1,400 yards. Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to say 90, 98. I think he gets close to 100 this year. 98, 1,250, and then Thielen will get 73 and 1,100.
Okay, so you think Justin Jefferson gets the football quite a bit more than Adam Thielen. I'm going to go with 85 catches for Justin Jefferson and 75 for Adam Thielen, because I think they're going to continue to run the football quite a bit, so the totals are not going to be as high, but Jefferson will still have a very high yardage total, over 1,200 yards. I think it's really hard to top what they did last year, and the more attention will make a difference, but the yardage and the receptions does not mean that Justin Jefferson is going to play worse. I think it just means that there's more attention, so the football will be distributed elsewhere. So who is their leading receiver not named Adam Thielen or Stephon Diggs? I'm sorry, Justin Jefferson. Wow, why did I say Stephon Diggs?
Oh man, can I say Dalvin Cook? I think Cook is just going to have so much more usage. I mean, the screen game is still pretty potent. He's going to be on the field much more than their wide receiver 3. Conklin could make a bid there too. Okay, I'm going to steer the other way. I'm going to say Conklin, but I think Cook is right there.
Yeah, I think Dalvin Cook ends up with the third most receptions and then Conklin after that. And I guess I'll go D.D. Westbrook after that. But if someone does get hurt, it could demand a lot of D.D. Westbrook. I'm still going to have to see it in real games to believe KJ Osborne can be a legitimate producer for this team. I think there's a reason why they went out and got D.D. Westbrook. So that could change as the season goes along. All right, Sam, another fun preview here. We'll continue doing every position as we go along this week. Make sure you listen to our longer discussions, Purple Insider, wherever you get your podcasts, and purpleinsider.substack.com for our written work. Catch you later.